Welcome everyone to our session, Streamline, Manage, and Secure Your Operational Technology Assets. I am Piyush Patel, Technical Product Marketing Manager, and I'm super excited to be here. Joining me today is Mike Plavin.
Thanks, Piyush. My name is Mike Plavin. I am also a Technical Product Marketing Manager for ServiceNow.
Before we get started, I would like to point out our safe harbor notice. Everything we are covering today is part of our product release, but the presentation may contain forward-looking statements. These statements should not be relied upon in making any sort of purchasing decisions. To kick this off, here are three big things we want to talk about today. One of the biggest challenges industrial organizations are facing today has to do with lack of visibility of their OT assets. 65% of enterprise asset managers we surveyed reported that they do not have a suitable solutions to optimize maintenance schedules and address unplanned downtime. Additionally, 60% of individuals experience frequent breaches of their industrial control systems or their SCADA-based systems. Unfortunately, this is unlikely to change soon. You have seen enough slides already. Let's dive into the demo. For this demo, we have simplified some of the roles and functions we will be covering today, but we know that may be a completely different role in your organization. In this case, Joe, who is our enterprise asset manager, also has access to the asset dashboard. Here is Joe looking at the asset dashboard to see what assets have been discovered. Let's talk about how we are able to get OT assets into ServiceNow. When assets are brought into ServiceNow, much information is collected, and anything missing can be added later. One key feature of ServiceNow platform is that it allows you to display the data you see here in interactive reports. Notice at the bottom of the screen how we can bring assets into ServiceNow by importing Excel spreadsheets, ServiceWatch, and third-party integrations such as Microsoft Defender for IoT, Clarity, and Dragos. Joe is also responsible for managing enterprise assets, which could be the physical OT devices, operating equipment, or parts and tools used to maintain these assets. He has been asked to provide a cost comparison report for laser cutting machines between the Newark and Santa Clara plants. Joe starts with TCO dashboard. Notice that the data reflects many business assets, such as MRI machines, laser cutting, and construction equipment. Earlier in the day, Joe created a report to compare the cost of the laser cutting machine model. While he's generating this report, he has an options to compare actual cost, but he could also select projected cost, which would include TCO over the lifespan of these assets. After clicking the view report, he can see the cost breakdown by categories such as purchase price, maintenance, repair, and labor cost. The report also explains why it's not economically feasible to maintain and operate the assets based on the older model. He could now use this data to raise the asset refresh date rather than wait until the end of the cycle. So in just a few clicks, Joe found an opportunity to maximize the value of his high-value assets, all from a single workspace.
Knowing where all the assets are is important. Equally as important is ensuring the security posture for those assets. And that's where Robert comes in. Meet Robert Brown. He's responsible for managing the security on all the industrial devices and protecting them against threats like ransomware, denial of service attacks, and more. Robert has a lot on his plate, so being able to view everything from a single location saves him a lot of time in his workday. Robert starts his day in the industrial workspace, where he's able to view the state of OT security for all the locations he's responsible for. Now he notices that there are 10 active vulnerabilities in the Atlanta manufacturing area, and we'll come back to that in a bit. The workspace comes with a lot of great dashboards out of the box, and Robert can quickly see how his team's doing with managing the vulnerabilities. And if he wants to customize any of them, he can do so with the click of a button. He also has a comprehensive view of the enterprise-level security posture of all the OT assets in his organization. This gives him a view of the important information, like the open critical vulnerabilities on OT devices, the vulnerable items by risk rating and state, and more. He can even see the risk score and open vulnerabilities at all of the different sites he manages. And Robert can share this dashboard with those who also need access to this information. Remember how the Atlanta site has those active vulnerabilities? Robert wanted to know more about how they're being managed, so he reaches out to Troy, an ICS engineer who does the day-to-day managing and patching of the connected devices in the Atlanta site. Troy logs into the industrial workspace and notes that there are 10 new OT vulnerable items at the site, most of which are in the manufacturing area. Troy navigates to the Equipment Model Entity View and drills down to the area we want to focus on, Manufacturing Work Center 2. It's worth noting that because of how ServiceNow maps the relationships between all the different configuration items in the CMDB, Troy can view the equipment model hierarchy in a visual format by looking at the OT dependency map. Now let's look at one of the vulnerabilities that were discovered on the OT devices in Manufacturing Work Center 2. There's a lot of information that's pulled, not only from the configuration item itself, like the Purdue level, but also the vulnerability scanner information, like a summary of the vulnerability and whether an exploit exists for it. Why is this important? Well, it gives the system relevant information to determine the overall risk for the vulnerability of the OT device and the organization, and it also provides folks like Robert and Troy the information they need to quickly determine next steps. Speaking of next steps, let's create an action item to ensure the PLC receives the patch it requires in a timely manner. We'll create a remediation task, which allows Troy to monitor the progress while the patches are being applied. And for the purposes of this demo, we'll assign the task to Troy. Troy can review the details of the work item, like when the remediation target is, i.e., when does the work need to be completed by, as well as the individual vulnerable items that need to be patched. Troy then creates a change request in order to implement the patching on the OT devices. Using the scheduling assistant, Troy gets an immediate view of the next planned downtime for the affected OT assets and can select this change request by adding to the list of work items to be completed. All this without ever having to leave the workspace he's in. Now, through the magic of the demo, we'll say that that's exactly what happened. The patches were successfully applied to the PLC during planned downtime, and everything was brought back online in perfect working order. What's more, now that the patches are installed, the remediation task shows that all vulnerabilities are resolved, and the remediation progress has been progressed to 100%. Now let's switch gears a bit and talk about how ServiceNow makes work easier for general OT incidents. Let's say there's a PLC that hasn't been working as expected. So Troy creates a new incident and starts an investigation. As he starts entering the brief description of what's going on, Agent Assist automatically suggests potential solutions for him based on the keywords he entered. Troy reviews the KB article and sees that someone else had a similar issue, which they were able to resolve by updating the firmware. Similar to other online tools, Troy's able to rate and review the knowledge base article so others will know how relevant it may be to their work. How cool is that?
So to recap, we just learned how you can gain full asset visibility on a single platform, achieve faster resolution time with Scheduling Assistant and Now Assist, and enhance your OT security posture from discovery to remediation. To learn more about EAM and OTM, visit our item site at servicenow.com. Thank you everyone for joining us today.